In 1891, a farm inspector in western Pennsylvania opened a root cellar that had been built 40 years earlier and found carrots from the previous October, still firm, still orange, still edible. 11 months in the ground. No ice, no electricity, no chemical treatment of any kind. The cellar maintained 42 degrees Fahrenheit through a Pennsylvania summer that reached 96 above ground. The builder had been dead for 20 years. He left no instructions. He left only the cellar. And the cellar still worked exactly as he had built it to work. That is not a folk story. That is a documented entry in the 1891 Pennsylvania Agricultural Survey, page 44. The inspector's name was Thomas Aldrich. He was not a romantic. He was a bureaucrat with a clipboard. He wrote what he saw. What he saw should not have been possible. Dirt insulates. Everyone who has ever dug a hole in summer knows the soil gets cooler the deeper the shovel goes. That is not remarkable. That is physics. Every root cellar in America maintains cooler temperatures than the surface. The dirt does that work automatically. That is not the achievement. The achievement is 42 degrees in July. Consistent, stable, unchanging regardless of what the thermometer above ground reads. That stability does not come from dirt alone. It comes from one design decision that separated the cellars that worked from the cellars that merely existed. A decision that appears in every surviving root cellar built before 1900 and in almost none built after 1950. The earth below 4 feet maintains 50 to 55 degrees year-round across most of continental North America. Free, permanent, requires no energy, has required no energy for 4,000 years of documented human use. Roman agricultural manuals from 200 BC describe the same passive cooling principle. The same principle is in every American farm manual published between 1820 and 1890. After 1890, the manuals stopped being written. After 1945, they stopped being read. The design decision that connected a cellar to that stable earth temperature was placement. Specifically, a north-facing slope. Specifically, depth calculated to the frost line of the local region, not to a standardized number. And specifically, 2 vents, not 1, 2. A low vent on the north face, a high vent on the south face. Cold air enters through the bottom. Warm air exits through the top. The cellar breathes. It pulls the Earth's stable 52 degrees inward continuously through a process that requires no pump, no fan, no power source of any kind. The temperature inside stabilizes and holds. Every root cellar that held reliable temperatures before 1900 was built on this principle. The builders understood it the way a carpenter understands load-bearing walls, not as theory, as practice. As something learned from the man who taught them, who learned it from the man who taught him. That transmission ended, not slowly, not gradually. It ended within a single generation after 1945. Stop. The household refrigerator became standard in American homes after 1945. Before that, every American family that preserved food through summer used a root cellar, a spring house, or nothing at all. The refrigerator industry did not replace a failed system. It replaced a functioning one, and in doing so eliminated the knowledge required to build and operate it within a single generation. Ask any appliance repair technician what happens to your food preservation capacity during a week-long power outage. Then ask why nobody taught you to build what worked for 4,000 years before the power grid existed. The household refrigerator costs $800 to $2,000 to purchase. $150 to $200 per year in electricity. Replacement every 12 to 15 years. Over 50 years, $8,000 to $15,000. Minimum. Root cellar construction, $500 to $2,000 in materials. Once. The structure built in 1851 that Thomas Aldrich inspected in 1891 was still functioning, still holding temperature. The builder's grandchildren were using it, his great-grandchildren would use it after them. That math is not complicated. The math is the point. But the Pennsylvania cellar held 42 degrees, 10 degrees below the Earth's stable temperature. Something in its construction was actively cooling beyond what the Earth alone provides. Aldrich noted it. He measured it 3 times because he did not believe the first reading. He documented it in his report and described it as, and this is his exact language, a phenomenon I cannot fully account for within my current understanding of natural philosophy. The phenomenon has a name. It was understood by every cellar builder in Pennsylvania in 1850. It is not taught in any construction program in the United States today. Evaporation. Not mechanical evaporation. Not engineered evaporation. A damp sand floor. Unglazed clay vessels filled with water placed at the cellar's coldest corner. The point where the ventilation system created maximum airflow. Moisture evaporates from the sand. Moisture evaporates from the clay. Evaporation pulls heat from the surrounding air. The ambient temperature drops 8 to 12 degrees below the Earth's stable temperature. No refrigerant, no compressor, no moving parts at all. The same principle a human body uses when it sweats. The same principle the Zir pot uses in sub-Saharan Africa today. A pot within a pot with wet sand between them, keeping vegetables edible in 90-degree heat without any power source. Aldrich could not account for it because the vessels had been removed before his inspection. He measured the temperature. He documented the temperature. He had no explanation for the temperature because the explanation had already been carried out of the cellar. Someone knew to remove them. The record does not say who. The record does not say why. What the record does say, the USDA documented optimal root cellar conditions in a 1917 bulletin. Specific ventilation ratios, specific humidity ranges, specific siting calculations for every climate zone in the continental United States. Comprehensive, practical, actionable. The bulletin was not reprinted after 1942. The refrigeration industry generated $50 billion in annual revenue in the United States by the time the knowledge had fully disappeared. The cold chain logistics industry, the trucks, the warehouses, the commercial refrigeration infrastructure that moves food from farm to store, generates $200 billion annually. Every dollar in that system requires continuous electricity consumption, ongoing maintenance, eventual replacement. Post-war suburban zoning codes classified underground food storage structures as requiring permits in most jurisdictions after 1960. The land required to build a root cellar was developed. The knowledge required to use that land disappeared when the land did. And when the knowledge disappeared, the people who still had access to the land had no reason to use it. The families who lost power for weeks during Hurricane Katrina had no food preservation option because the option that required no power had been eliminated from their knowledge base 2 generations earlier. The families in Texas in February 2021. Every major grid failure in the last 40 years. The root cellar functions during every outage the refrigerator cannot survive. It has no failure mode tied to the grid. It has no failure mode at all, built correctly. Spring is the construction window. The ground is workable. The summer heat that will test the cellar is still months away. A root cellar begun in April is operational by June. The first harvest it receives in October will still be edible the following September. That is the timeline. 1 spring of construction, 1 lifetime of function. Over 200,000 American households built or restored root cellars between 2010 and 2024. The knowledge is not gone. It was suppressed, not destroyed. It exists in the 1820 manuals that were never digitized, in the 1917 USDA bulletin that was never reprinted, in the families that never stopped building. There is one root cellar still in active use in western Pennsylvania, built in 1887. Still maintaining food at 41 degrees in July without any modification, any electrical connection, or any intervention beyond the annual replacement of the damp sand on its floor. The family that owns it has declined every request from preservation societies to document its construction. They have declined for the same reason for 40 years. They believe that once the documentation exists, someone will find a reason to condemn the structure. They may be right.